next topic is actually one that I am perhaps most interested in out of all of the weeks. Um, and that is the topic of mobile, wireless, and ubiquitous learning. I think that the mobile learning aspect, as Dr. Bonk has talked about different things like just, anyone can learn anything at any time with the new mobility that we have, it is just fascinating. Um, I think that certainly technology advances in mobile phones and mobile devices in general play an important role. Um, However, I do think that it also creates a certain divide, with people that can't afford some of these technologies. Um, for example, I mean, as a graduate student, I can't justify getting an iPhone because of the monthly additional expense of the data plan access that it includes, where I already have, kids to support and a family. And so basically, it's been kind of a rule that hopefully eventually I could break, but kind of been a rule set between my wife and I that whenever we get cell phones, which we do feel is something that is a necessary expense, but we have to get the free phone because generally there are free options available for the actual handset. Um, and certainly I don't expect my children to have cell phones. Probably not even in high school. And certainly that's a long way off. It's another 10 years before my oldest will be, entering high school. So who knows what the future is going to be like in 10 years, and maybe they will be required. Um, but I see a real problem with something that's a subscription based or an actual requirement for students to have something like that. Now, the thing that I think is a very, very interesting possibility is having something that's not subscription based, but that can still access something through like a Wi-Fi. For example, an iPod Touch that has internet access and that you can download applications, and there's lots of educational applications and things like that. But these, other than the initial purchase price, don't have a monthly contract, and I think something like that is much more sustainable for a school or a university. Um, I think it's no real secret that I'm a big fan of Apple, and I've been very, very interested in the iPad. I did actually get my first chance to play with an iPad earlier this week, and while it's certainly not a computer, and that's where a lot of people that are kind of disappointed or upset with it, thinking it's not that great. It's not a computer, but what it is the things that it does very well. It's not just a book reader. It's not just an MP3 player. It's not just a portable video device. It's not just an internet browser, but what it is a combination of all of those. And the things that it takes on, again, I think it does very well. I think something like that, or like I said, an iPod Touch, even something I know that Google is working on making some type of more of a tablet device like an iPad. I think that these kinds of things are going to be very, very interesting in education. Because hopefully they'll have, like with the iPad, just a simple Wi-Fi version that as long as the school then has a Wi-Fi signal, in their school, they wouldn't require any additional commitments or contracts on the part of the school. So it'd be much more feasible to provide these to the students to be able to use and not have any additional financial burdens. Um, I think that mobile learning, I really like John Traxler's comment about cell phones, how there's lots of technologies in education that we kind of try to force into technology or force into education. From within, we try to purchase new computers or new, whatever learning management systems or different things that we try to force upon students. Where cell phones are kind of the opposite. That's the one technology that's trying to force its way from outside in. And again, I think that's very interesting, and I think that it's great for areas or schools where people can afford it. I think that in many ways, lots of college programs would be fine. I know that there are some universities that actually require students to have an iPhone. And if that's part of their curriculum and they make it work, I would be all for that. I would love to have that kind of as a part of a requirement because I think that there are lots of very good educational things that are possible with that mobility. However, I'm more interested in things that don't have a subscription model, that are something that's just hardware based, but then you have to have a Wi-Fi signal or things like that. And certainly, there's monthly access plans for Wi-Fi if you're, for a school or for an internet provider, things like that. But I think the next 10 years are just going to be so fascinating with the mobility aspect of technology, the ubiquitous nature of computers, where more and more cars are going to have internet access built in, that they'll be able to check traffic conditions, similar to what GPS does right now, but in addition to that, be able to do diagnostic tests on your vehicle, send it to the mechanic. You can get reports back from a dealer, things like that. I just think that there are so many interesting things that could possibly come. I'll quit rambling for now because there's just so many things that I would love to talk about. I think that the iPad and future devices like the iPad are going to be extremely beneficial for education. I am not like the critics that think that they're going to be just a fad. I think that they really are kind of a new type of device, a simpler device. One of the critics, or one of the things people critique about it, is that it's kind of closed. And I don't see it as a closed device. It just has to be an Apple approved. There's tons of applications. They just have to be Apple approved. And if I'm a school administrator, I perhaps don't want an open device where then you have to worry about all sorts of technology support, even as far as security threats and things like that. Where you have something that is more closed, you know what you're getting. People have described the iPad like it's a Disneyland experience. It's it's a kind of more of a sanitized environment. You know what you're going to get. So yes, it's not going to be that anything and everything is going to be in Disneyland, but you know what you're going to get when you go there, and it can be a great experience for what it is. And I think that the iPad and similar things like that are going to be real game changers in the future. So I'm excited to see what happens. I hope you enjoy this next video and have a great day. All right.